Okay, so immediately after this tensile test, we will continue. Okay, discussion. Okay, so next point is hardness testing. So, okay, so what is hardness? Okay, and how it is tested, that we'll try to discuss during this particular session. So hardness is tested by measuring the material's resistance to indentation or scratch. Okay, now if you in your general life also you can see, okay, some materials are so hard that you even cannot scratch those materials. Okay, because its hardness is on higher side. uh, what do you mean by scratching? Can anyone tell me? Scratching, एखाद्या मेटलवर आपण स्क्रॅच पाडतो, एखाद्या मेटलच्या पीसनं किंवा कशानं तरी. What do you mean by scratching?
So just removing the small particles from that.
Removing small particles from that region. Anything else?
Making an indent on the surface of the metal.
Exactly, making the indent on that material. Okay, now for example, suppose if I want to if I want to make an indent on a, say, mild steel. Okay, what kind of metal or what kind of tool I have to use to make an indent on a mild steel material?
So the metal which is stronger than mild steel.
Exactly, not stronger, that material should be harder than mild steel. Harder than mild steel. Even if you see, you might have worked on lathe machine also, okay, where you might have reduced the diameter of that components and other things. Okay, the tool that you usually use is harder than the material. Okay, harder than the component. Okay, or even if you see in case of carpentry also, okay, the tools which carpenter usually use are harder than the wood. Okay, because obviously that is necessary in order to change the shape. Okay, now hardness in metals is nothing but the resistance to this indentation. Okay, all of you getting this? Hardness is nothing but the resistance to this indentation. The more the resistance, more the hard material. Okay, but remember one thing, म्हणजे एक खूप मोठं मिसअंडरस्टँडिंग असतं तुमच्यामध्ये, की मटेरियल हार्ड आहे म्हणजे खूप चांगलं आहे, असं काहीही नाही. अकॉर्डिंग टू द ऍप्लिकेशन्स, द मटेरियल शुड कॅरी इट्स प्रॉपर्टीज. म्हणजे काही ठिकाणी तुम्हाला हार्डनेस जास्त लागू शकतो, काही ऍप्लिकेशन्स असे असतात की वेअर हार्डनेस इज नॉट necessary, where ductility is necessary, where somewhere brittleness is the major property, in some cases softness is necessary. Okay, so this is the case. So in many applications you will see, okay, this thing, but it doesn't mean hardness is the best property. Once the material is hard, okay, it is the best material. It is not like that. Okay, each and every property is important, remember this thing. Okay, now hardness test can be carried out in three ways. Okay, first one is a Brinell test, second one is a Vickers test, and third one is a Rockwell test. All these tests we'll try to see, and practicals of all these tests will conduct also. Okay, now hardness in metals may vary by applying certain heat treatments on the metals. Okay, what is heat treatment? That we'll discuss, because we have fourth unit specifically on the basis of fourth unit, right? We have fourth unit specifically based on heat treatments. Okay, so in that unit we will discuss about what is heat treatment and how it usually alters the properties, how it usually change the hardness, ductility, and everything. Okay, so just remember, hardness can be changed by heat treatment. Remember this thing. Okay, so we'll discuss these tests one by one. So first we'll try to understand की जरी टेस्ट तीन असतील, म्हणजे ब्रिनेल टेस्ट असेल, विकर्स टेस्ट असेल किंवा रॉकवेल टेस्ट असेल, मशीन इज सेम फॉर ऑल दीज टेस्टिंग. ओके, machine is same. This is hardness testing machine. Okay, 1 minute. Okay, this is the actual picture. This first one is the actual picture of hardness testing machine, this one. So over here you can see a gauge is over here to measure the load. Okay, one table is there. Okay, on that table one is one adjusting small table is also there. Okay, so on that small table you need to keep the specimen. Okay, and above that there is a positioner, there is a system which is usually used to hold the indenter. Okay, what is indenter, that we'll discuss now. So this is machine. This is a schematic diagram of machine. If it is asked in exam, suppose, to explain hardness testing machine, then and then only explain this. Otherwise, other diagrams are enough for hardness testing. Okay. So this is the gauge where you will read the observation. First thing, this is activating lever which will be used to apply the load, At this point, indenter will be fixed at this point. Okay, over here. Next is below that you can see adjusting screw is there, adjusting nut you can say also, this one. Above on this adjusting nut, okay, there is a particular arrangement is given. Okay, over that arrangement or over that table like structure you can keep your specimen. Okay, and this up and down can be done by this lever provided to this adjusting nut. Okay, now what is indenter and what is these things that we'll discuss now. Okay, now indenter is, okay, these are the actual pictures of hardness testing machines. Okay, you can see over here this kind of hardness testing machine we have in our lab. Okay, so we don't know when when we'll be able to conduct the practicals in the lab. Okay, at the time we'll discuss this also. Okay, this is how it looks like. Okay. Okay, so indenter that we need to understand. Indenter is something like all of you have seen bearing balls. Yes.
Yes, sir.
All of you have seen bearing balls. Have you ever tried to change the shape of bearing ball?
No, sir.
It is quite hard, no?
You might have tried to change the shape of a bearing ball, but you may be you might have got you can see, or you might have you was not, it was not possible to even change the shape of that ball. Okay, bearing ball. Now, why it usually happens is because these balls are usually hardened balls. Okay, bearing ball, but bearing balls are not used in hardness test. Remember this. This is just for example. Okay, हे bearing balls सारखी इथे काहीतरी दिसतंय बघा. Can you see this structures? These balls looks like bearing balls. Okay, but these are not bearing balls. These are indenters. Okay, now these indenters are having a ball-like shape. Okay, some indenters have pyramid-like shape. Okay, some indenters have conical shape. So we'll discuss that one by one. Okay, these balls are used to make the indentation in the material, and that's why these are called as indenters. Okay, remember this thing. Okay, so what I have to do, I have to take this ball. Okay, and some small arrangement is there in which this ball is fitted. You can see over here in this particular component. Okay, this is the arrangement for that holding the ball. Okay, and over here at the center point you can see the ball. Okay, over here. Okay, and in the machine at this point you need to fix that ball at this position of indenter where it is shown, position of indenter. At this point you need to fix that. Okay, so during hardness test, any hardness test, what is done is the specimen is kept on this particular table, small table. Okay, and it is raised, okay, against this ball. Okay, that means this ball indenter, you can say indenter, which is fixed in this particular system. Okay, so just raise this specimen against this ball which is positioned in this particular system. Okay, as you go on raising, automatically the load will be increased in between, because the pressure in between that ball and that specimen will go on increasing, and that ball will try to penetrate inside the material, and obviously due to that penetration it will leave some indents on the specimen. Okay, and this is the basic mechanism of hardness testing. Okay, so we'll see one by one these tests. Okay, now Brinell hardness test, first test is Brinell hardness test. In Brinell hardness test, specifically ball shaped indenters are used. Okay, remember this thing. Brinell hardness test म्हणजे ball shaped indenters. हे पाठच करायचं clearly. Okay, but what is the biggest disadvantage of Brinell hardness test is this test cannot be used, cannot be applied on a thin material. That means if you take a sheet, okay, a small sheet, okay, of metal to check the hardness, you cannot use Brinell hardness on that particular, or Brinell, you cannot carry out a Brinell hardness test on that particular sheet. Okay, it is not made up for thin materials. Okay, this particular test is designed for thick materials. Okay, thick components. Now suppose in case if you take a very hard material, what I am telling you, in case if you take very hard material, instead of deformation of the material, deformation of ball may take place. That means due to higher hardness of the material, त्या बॉलचा शेप काय होईल, चेंज होईल. आयडियली कसं झालं पाहिजे टेस्ट मध्ये, ड्यू टू द हार्डनेस ऑफ द बॉल द शेप ऑफ दॅट स्पेसिमन शुड चेंज, द बॉल शुड मेक इंडेंटेशन इन द स्पेसिमन. बट जर तुमचा स्पेसिमन खूप हार्ड असेल तर उलट होईल. म्हणजे काय होईल, तर स्पेसिमन त्या बॉलला काय करेल, ऑब्विसली म्हणजे अगदी टिपिकल मराठीत मध्ये सांगायचं झालं तर त्या बॉलला तो चपटा करेल, जर तुम्ही अगदी खूप प्रेशरने त्याला जर खूप जास्त लोड लावला. Okay, so obviously you need to take care in selection of specimen also, because for harder materials there are different tests. We'll discuss those also. Okay, surface area of indentation is measured after test. Now how to carry out the test, that we'll see now. Okay, now over here you can see hardened steel ball is usually used in Brinell hardness test. Okay, or tungsten carbide. Now tungsten carbide is the hardest material. Okay, it has hardness more than most of the materials, most of the metals you can say. Okay, so if you use a tungsten carbide ball, suppose there are very less chances of getting this deformation of this ball. Okay, remember this material, hardened steel or tungsten carbide. Okay, this tungsten carbide material is also used for even in our cutting applications also. Okay, okay, this is the procedure. Okay, take an indenter ball. Okay, which is made up of hardened steel or tungsten carbide ball. Okay, then okay, this ball indented by using that hardness testing machine, this ball indenter is forced into the surface of the specimen. Okay, into the surface of the specimen. I will simply show this how it is done. One minute. Or if you can see this whiteboard.
Yes.
Okay, so I'll show over here. I'll draw the specimen first. Okay, so suppose this is your specimen. Okay, and I will take, obviously I am going for your Brinell hardness, okay, test. So I'll take the ball shaped indenter, something like this. Okay, and above this ball there is an arrangement done to hold that ball. Okay, something like this. Okay, now all of you can see this now.
Yes, sir.
Okay, this is the arrangement to hold the ball indenter, and this is the specimen. The lower one is the specimen. Now if by the arrangement which is available in the machine, if I suppose raise this specimen, okay, against this ball, okay, after a certain time this specimen will be over here. Okay, at this position. Okay, if I further raise this specimen, okay, after a certain time the specimen surface will touch this ball. Okay, again if I go on raising this particular specimen, what will happen, this ball will penetrate in the material, something like this. Can you see this?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now after this what I will do, I will lower this specimen. Okay, I will lower this specimen. So the final specimen will look like this. Okay, it will look like something like this because it is difficult to draw exactly circular structure. Okay, this is the indentation. Okay, 1 minute. This is the indentation that has been produced by this ball. Okay, now this indentation is important in order to calculate the hardness of this particular specimen. Okay, so we'll continue this now. Okay. Okay, so what you need to do is the ball indenter you have to force into the surface of the specimen. Okay, the diameter of the indentation after making the indentation in the material, diameter of the indentation is measured and converted into Brinell hardness number. So there is a formula for that. We'll discuss that during practical. Now during this testing, what you need to take care is the test specimen should be 8 times thicker than the depth of the impression. Because see why? Because if your component is not thicker, okay, 8 times thicker than the depth of the impression, in that case whatever load that you are trying to apply, okay, whatever load that you are trying to apply on the that specimen, that will be transferred to the table of the machine. Okay, मग असं चालेल का? Can anyone answer me? Load applied on the ball or load applied by that ball indenter on the specimen is transferred to the table of the machine. Is it okay?
Yes, sir.
It is not, obviously not okay, because all the load should be carried by that component only, by that specimen only, and not by the table of the machine. And for that you need to take specimen 8 times thicker than the indentation. Okay, next is uses of this particular Brinell test. Obviously some softer materials, okay, iron castings or drop forging, okay, which are relatively soft materials as compared to other some materials. Okay, and disadvantage of this test is it cannot be used on thin material specimens. Okay, the ball deforms with a very hard material specimens. Okay, जर तुम्ही खूप जास्त हार्ड मटेरियल यूज केलं तर बॉलचा शेप चेंज होईल. ओके, अँड बॉल इंडेंट्स टू मच विथ सॉफ्ट मटेरियल स्पेसिमेन. म्हणजे हे दोन्ही असे आहेत ना डिसएडव्हान्टेज की याच्यावर ओव्हरकम करून तुम्हाला ते मटेरियल टेस्ट करावं लागेल. म्हणजे असं मटेरियल सिलेक्ट करा की जे खूप सॉफ्ट असणार नाही किंवा खूप हार्ड असणार नाही. ओके, नेक्स्ट बघूया, याची डायग्राम आहे आपल्याकडे. ओके, दिस इज द डायग्राम.
सर
येस येस
सर, पण रिस्पेक्टिव्हली ते हार्डनेसचे मेजरमेंट अनुसार आपण ते बॉलची हार्डनेस पण चेंज करू शकतो ना सर?
बॉलची हार्डनेस चेंज करू शकतो, बट कसं आहे माहिती आहे का की हे सगळं तुम्हाला कॅल्क्युलेशनला घ्यायचं आहे हा पार्ट. म्हणजे की हा जो बॉल आहे
म्हणजे एक स्टँडर्ड युनिट साठी म्हणजे ते दोन मटेरियलचा आपण बॉल यूज.
yes yes exactly okay, because its hardness is a standard one. Okay, it can make indentation in any material. That's why those two materials are selected basically for hardness test. Okay, so this is that ball indenter. You can say downward force is applied on this ball indenter. This is your specimen, and in this specimen obviously this ball will make the indentation. So just check the dimensions of this indentation, mark, okay, and go for the calculation. The calculation part and everything that we'll discuss in the practical session. Okay, next test is the Vickers hardness test. Okay, Vickers hardness test. In this case, instead of ball shaped indenter, square shaped pyramid indenter is used, something like this. You can see in this diagram also. Is it visible?
Yes sir.
Yes, this one it is actual picture is shown over here, and this one is the, you can say, the top view of the indenter. It is a pyramid like structure, and you can see it's a diagonals D2 and D1. Two diagonals are there, D1 and this D2. This Vickers hardness test as compared to Brinell hardness test gives the accurate results. Okay, you can see the actual what you can say the indenter over here. This below this second picture, this one. Let me take the spotlight. Okay, over here this picture shows the actual indenter. This is the indenter, you can see over here. Okay, after, now the procedure is same as that we have used in the Brinell test. Okay, that what you have to do is after indentation, okay, you just need to measure the diagonal of the indentation. In the first case, what we measured, diameter of the indentation, because obviously the indenter was ball shaped, so we need to measure the diameter. In this case, as the indenter is of square shaped pyramid, okay, we need to measure the dimension of this diagonal. Okay, this vertical is D2 and this one is D1. Okay, so measure the lengths of these diagonals and take those dimensions for further calculations. Okay, that also we will discuss. Okay, so take a square shaped pyramid. Okay, which this is important. The angle made by these two edges is 136 degree. Can you see this? This angle?
Yes, sir.
136 degree. This angle must be 136 degree. Okay, remember this thing. Okay, and usually the indenters which are used in Vickers test are diamond. Okay, are made up of diamond. Now all of you know diamond is the hardest material. Okay, it can make indentation in any material, literally any material. Okay, so just apply the force on that indenter, so that indenter will make indentation in the material. Okay, so just measure the diagonal lengths of that indentation. Okay, and take those dimensions for further calculation. The care that you need to take is the test paste must be 5 times thicker than the depth of penetration. Okay, next is it is used for very hard materials, obviously, because we are using a diamond indenter, so it can be applicable for very hard materials also, and it is easier to use as compared to your Brinell test. Okay, but one thing you need to make sure that the surface of the specimen should be very smooth surface. Okay, so that your dimensions, or you can say what your observations will be accurate. Okay, because see, if you compare Vickers test with Brinell test, you will find that Vickers test is more accurate as compared to Brinell test. That accuracy comes from this one. You need to use a smoother surface. Okay, the last test is Rockwell hardness test. Okay, in Rockwell hardness test, two types of indenters are used: ball type indenters and cone type indenters. Okay, ball type are denoted by B and cone type indenters are denoted by capital C. When you are testing any soft material, you use a ball type indenter. In case of hard material, you go for cone type indenter. Usually ball type indenters are made up of maybe something like hardened steel. Okay, and cone type indenters are made up of diamond. Okay, and this particular hardness test is a flexible, it is very quick, and it is very easy to use as compared to previous two tests, because see, in this flexibility comes from this soft materials are also can be checked, hard materials can also be checked, so flexibility is there. Okay, and it is very easy to use. Go for ball indenter if the material is soft, go for you can say cone indenter if the material is hard. Okay, uh, procedure remains same. Okay, just the difference is, okay, the scale of ball and scale of cone. Okay, there are various charts and tables provided for this C scale and B scale. C scale means scale used for cone, and B scale is the scale used for ball. Okay, this is the procedure of Vickers Rockwell hardness test. Okay, all these tests have same procedure. The only difference is indenter. In case of Brinell test, indenter is ball shaped, made up of hardened steel or tungsten carbide. In case of Vickers test, the indenter is of square shaped pyramid. Okay, and it is made up of diamond material. And in case of Rockwell hardness test, the balls are of two shapes, indenters are two shapes, ball and cone shape. Ball is made up of usually hardened steel, and cone shape is usually made up of diamond. Okay, next test is, that means last destructive test is toughness test or impact test. It is also called as an impact test. Okay, so we'll go through this test also. Toughness of the metal is usually measured by impact test. Okay, it is usually referred as an impact test, but sometimes it is also called as a toughness test also. Okay, So it is done in two ways. First one is ISOD impact test, and second one is Charpy impact test. Okay, it is, the names are shown over here: ISOD impact test and Charpy impact test. So we'll try to see this. Okay, the machine used for both these tests is same. Okay, this one. Okay, having an energy meter which will obviously show the load. Okay, then load in the sense force that you apply. Okay, then this pendulum release control, this is the pendulum. Okay, this is the another position of pendulum after leaving from this particular initial position. Okay, and then specimen is kept over here at this particular point. It is held, actually it is held over here. This is actual picture of, you can see a impact testing machine. Okay, this one. Okay, now how it is done. In case of impact test and ISOD test and Charpy test, the difference is only the specimen. That means position of specimen is the difference. Okay, so एकदा ISOD impact test तुम्हाला समजली की Charpy लगेच समजते. ठीक आहे, आता काय करायचं की स्पेसिमन असा प्रिपेअर करायचा. ऑल ऑफ यू सी कॅन दिस स्पेसिमन, bottom left corner.
Yes, sir.
Okay, you can see a notch is produced there, a V kind of notch. Okay, V-shaped notch is produced. Okay, in the specimen. Okay, ह्याचे डायमेन्शन्स वगैरे आपण सगळे प्रॅक्टिकलच्या वेळेला बघू. याची पण प्रॅक्टिकल आपण घेणार आहे. ओके, हा टेस्ट स्पेसिमन काय केला जातो, असा व्हर्टिकली होल्ड केला जातो इन दिस मशीन. हे जे मशीन दाखवलं मी ऑन द प्रिव्हियस स्लाइड. ओके, दिस मशीन, इन दिस मशीन दिस स्पेसिमन इज हेल्ड इन दिस मॅनर. ओके, यू कॅन सी ही जी नोच आहे, त्या नोचच्या खालचा जो पार्ट आहे तो संपूर्ण पार्ट व्हाईस मध्ये काय केलेला आहे, टाईट केलेला आहे. ओके, आणि ह्या जो नोच आहे त्या स्पेसिमनचा, दिस नोच विल फेस द स्ट्रायकर. आता स्ट्रायकर म्हणजे काय, हा पेंड्युलम. पेंड्युलम म्हणजे काय समजलं का, हा. ओके, हा इकडून असा असतो, हा असा इथे, हा इथून खाली सोडला की हा पूर्णपणे असा ट्रॅव्हल करतो इकडे. ठीक आहे, असं या डायरेक्शन मध्ये. आता समजा मी इथे स्पेसिमन ठेवला असा आणि इकडून जर असं पेंड्युलम सोडला तर काय होईल.
सर फोर्स त्या पेंडुलम वरून ते डायरेक्टली ते नॉच वर जाईल सर.
तो पेंड्युलम काय होईल, स्ट्राईक होईल या स्पेसिमनवर, आणि या नोच मधून तो काय होईल, स्पेसिमन तुमचा फ्रॅक्चर होईल, ब्रेक होईल. बरोबर आहे. ही जी एनर्जी असते, या स्ट्रायकिंग एनर्जी, ती 167 ज्यूल्स असते. ओके, किंवा त्याला तुम्ही 167 न्यूटन मीटर पण म्हणू शकता. ठीक आहे, ही 167 ज्यूल्स असते. पण इथं काय होतं, ब्रेकिंगच्या वेळेला ते काय होतं, इन्क्रीज होतं. ते फक्त तो इन्क्रीज तुम्हाला काय करायचा आहे, ऑब्झर्व करायचा आहे, मॅक्झिमम किती होता. ठीक आहे, ड्युरिंग टेस्ट तुम्हाला काय करायचं आहे, हे ब्रेक करताना इथे एनर्जी जास्त लागणार आहे. बरोबर आहे. जेव्हा ते स्ट्राईक होईल, ओके, तेव्हा इकडे काय होईल, जसा त्याच्यावर इम्पॅक्ट होईल या स्ट्रायकरचा किंवा पेंडुलमचा, तसं इकडे जे तुमचं रिडिंग आहे ते रिडिंग काय होईल, चेंज होईल. ते रिडिंग चेंज जो आहे दॅट यू नीड टू ऑब्झर्व ड्युरिंग द टेस्ट. ओके, आणि सेकंड टेस्ट मध्ये काय करायचं, बाकीचं सगळं सेम ठेवायचं, फक्त जे स्ट्रायकरची हायर पोझिशन आहे ती 300 ज्यूल्सला ठेवायची. पहिला किती होती, 167 ज्यूल्सला होती, म्हणजे कमी होतं थोडस एनर्जी. आता एनर्जी जास्त ठेवायची आणि स्पेसिमन असा ठेवायचा, कसा, हॉरिझॉन्टल. यू कॅन सी दिस फिगर. ओके, आणि जो पेंड्युलम असेल तो नाईफ एज पेंड्युलम असेल. इकडे बघा, हा पेंड्युलम जशी कुऱ्हाड असते ना आपली, ओके, त्या कुऱ्हाडी सारखा शेप असतो पेंड्युलमचा. ओके, हा पेंड्युलम काय करेल, बरोबर इथे स्ट्राईक होईल या नोचच्या इथे बॅक साईडला. नोच पेंड्युलमला फेसिंग ठेवायचा नाही, त्याच्या अपोजिट साईडला फेसिंग ठेवायचा नोच. ओके, आणि इकडून पाठीमागच्या साईडून तो पेंड्युलम काय करायचा, याच्यावर स्ट्राईक करायचा या स्पेसिमनवर. या स्पेसिमनवर स्ट्राईक केलं की तो स्पेसिमन असा ब्रेक होतो. यू कॅन सी दॅट इन द डायग्राम इन द बॉटम लेफ्ट कॉर्नर. ओके, असा तो ब्रेक होतो. हा ब्रेक होताना तुम्हाला फक्त लक्ष कशावर ठेवायचं आहे, तर जे वरची गेज आहे ही, दिस गेज. ओके, या गेजवर तुम्हाला काय करायचं आहे, लक्ष ठेवायचं इथे. ओके, ऑन दिस गेज. ओके, सो ही गेज काय होते, फ्लक्च्युएट होते ड्युरिंग ब्रेकिंग ऑफ द स्पेसिमन. आणि तो जो चेंज आहे गेज मधला, दॅट you need to observe. Okay, and then you will go for the further calculation part. All of you understood this impact test? It is very easy.
Yes, sir.
Yes, specimen is going to remain same. फक्त आयझॉड इम्पॅक्ट मध्ये काय करायचा, जो स्ट्रायकर आहे तो 167 joules ला ठेवायचा. ओके, आणि स्पेसिमन हा व्हर्टिकल पोझिशन मध्ये ठेवायचा. ओके, आणि इन केस ऑफ चार्पी टेस्ट जो स्ट्रायकर आहे तो 300 joules ला हे सेट करायचा. ओके, आणि जो स्पेसिमन आहे तो स्पेसिमन कसा ठेवायचा, हॉरिझॉन्टल ठेवायचा, पण नोच शुड बी अवे फ्रॉम द स्ट्रायकर. नोच शुड फेस अवे फ्रॉम स्ट्रायकर, म्हणजे पेंड्युलम इकडून पाठीमागून आला पाहिजे याच्यावर असं. गॉट इट?
Yes, sir.
ओके, आता मला एक आन्सर द्या की किती प्रॅक्टिकल झाले आपले. प्रॅक्टिकल एकच झालेला आहे, टेन्साइल टेस्ट. ठीक आहे, रिमेंबर दिस.
Okay, sir.
Okay, someone take the screenshot of attendance and send me. Okay, we'll stop here because we have less than 1 minute now. Okay, see you in the next lecture, tomorrow's lecture.
Sir.
उलट तूने क्या
Thank you.